Hi everyone, it's James here from Belvoir Lettings. Welcome to the weekly Northwich property vlog. Hope you're all keeping well and enjoying this better weather we've had of late. Today I want to talk about the concept of avoiding the void. Now what I mean by this is the amount of time a property stands empty, whether it's before a tenant moves into the property on first letting it or in between tenancies, again the duration of time of how long it's empty. Now, something to bear in mind when letting a property and achieving a certain rental value, you've got to take into account the amount of time that the property does stand empty, the void period, because of course no money is being generated in this time. So let's say over the course of a 12-month period, if your property is stood empty 6, maybe 8 weeks, you have to factor that into your bottom line figure. Now let's say you achieve £800 on the property, and if you do that over the course of 12 months and you had, let's say, a 2-month void period, it actually doesn't work out at £800 that you're achieving. It's more like in the £600 odd region. So you do have to factor this in because it's important when calculating your return on the property. Other things to consider when there's a void on the property is of course council tax and standing order charges on utilities of course as well. So you have to bear these in mind when you're letting a property, that you need to factor these into the bottom line of the rental equation. Now there's a few things at play when determining how long the property will remain empty for. The first and foremost, the most obvious one is obviously the rental amount asked on the property. Now, if you're being over ambitious with what you want to achieve on the property, i.e. you're above that market asking rate, you're not going to get as many inquiries as you would if you're more competitive in line with what the going rate is for a property in the area, whether it be 2-bed, 3-bed, flat, house, whatever. You do need to be competitive and keep up with trends in the market, which of course we at Belvoir have a finger on the pulse in terms of knowing what properties go for. Now the other important thing when determining how long a property will be empty is obviously the presentation of the property and how well maintenance is kept on top of. So if your property is looking a bit old and tired and needs a bit of a freshen up, you're obviously not going to attract the better clientele and you're not going to get somebody in as quick as you maybe like to. So it's always important to keep up with especially interior design trends within your property and keep everything fresh. I always say to people a lick of paint does wonders for tenants, prospective tenants who are looking at their property. The smell as soon as you walk in, it's a very powerful sense, the smell is, and if they can smell it's just been recently painted, they're going to be more interested in taking your property. You can certainly look at the possibilities of updating maybe kitchen, bathrooms, the two most important rooms in a rental property. If you've had the same kitchen or bathroom in for the last 10, 15, maybe even 20 years, it may be time to look at upgrading it, because you've got to keep up with the pace of the rental market and trends and what tenants actually want. So your property has got to be in a good, presentable condition for tenants to want to take it and live there, because at the end of the day they want to make it their home and they want as hassle-free living as possible really, and not be left with leaking taps, paint peeling off the walls, that kind of thing. As well as the garden as well, you've got to pay attention to the garden and whether it's a low maintenance garden, whether it's kept on top of, and curb appeal as well. When tenants turn up to view a property, they want a property that looks in good order from the street. They don't want to pull up and see flaking paint on the windows, for instance, or a door that's looking shabby. So it's all about first impressions. First impressions do count for a lot in the property game. So it is important to present your property well. The last thing I'd say on void management, particularly if you're an overseas client, it may be worth having a void management package on the property, which we at Belvoir can organise for you at a small fee. So we'd regularly inspect the property, especially over the winter months, to make sure there's no leaks, etc., and the property is not being exposed to the elements. So that is something to consider when renting property. Have you got someone who can look after it when it's unoccupied? And following on from that, you've got to make sure that your landlord's insurance will cover for the amount of time it is likely to be unoccupied. So again, it's worth reading the small print of your insurance, and we at Belvoir can offer you a robust landlord's insurance that has a lengthy unoccupied term if that's going to be the case. So we have the tools available there to make sure your property is looked after, not just during the tenancy, but during void periods as well. So thanks for watching again. If you've got any questions, please get in touch with the office. Please share if you wouldn't mind, and like if you do like what you've seen and heard as well. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch up soon.